Hi, this is David Layfield with ApartmentSmart.com and Affordable Housing Online, and we wanted to do a quick screencast to show you how to do a Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher waiting list application for the Mobile Housing Board. The waiting list pre-application has opened up this week. It opened up at 12:01 a.m. this morning, Monday, June 23rd, 2014, and will remain open until Friday night at 11:59 p.m. On June 27th. The application is located at mobile.applyforhousing.com, and that's apply for housing with the number 4. This is the page you'll come to when you go to mobile.applyforhousing.com, and this is a Mobile Housing Board's application portal. There's a lot of copy on this page here, but it's important that you stop and read all of this stuff. Don't just jump into the application until you've read this. There's some things you need to know. First of all, you need to answer every question thoroughly and truthfully based on your family stats today. So if your family currently has 3 children, then report that on the application, even if one of them might be moving out of the household next year, or if you're expecting, make sure that you just report what is actually truthful today. Another important fact is that this is a pre-application for the waiting list. It doesn't automatically put you on the waiting list. If you notice here, it says a computerized random lottery may be used for placement on our waiting list. What happens many times across the country with waiting lists for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program is that there are so many applicants with so few assistants available that they've got to actually trim down the number of people they add to the waiting list whenever they open it up every few years. So, for example, recently down in Florida, a couple weeks ago, a waiting list opened up, and they had something like 54,000 people that applied to the waiting list over the course of a couple of days, and they only selected through random lottery about 2,500 of those folks to add to the waiting list. So by submitting this application today, you don't necessarily get added to the waiting list later on. They'll have that random lottery, as it says right here. Another important fact is this is the only way to apply for Section 8 vouchers in Mobile. They do not allow you to walk in with your application. You can't mail it, you can't email it, you can't fax it. You must go through this online portal. In addition, make sure that any information you provide, such as your email address or your physical address, are accurate, because those are the only means by which you will be notified that you qualified for the waiting list, and then later on, when you come up on the waiting list, that's the way they'll reach out to you to let you know that your Section 8 voucher is ready. Through this system as well, you need to manage your place on the waiting list. So if your address changes at some point, or your email address changes, you're going to need to log into this system and let the Mobile Housing Board know that. Otherwise, if they attempt to contact you and you don't get the message, then it was all for naught, because they'll move on to the next person on the waiting list. So remember that. Before you start down here filling in your information, make sure that you've got all the information you're going to need to get the application done. That way you don't have to get in, go halfway through, and then realize you can't do it, and then have to stop. So there's a couple of things you're going to need to get started. Number one, you need to know everyone in your household. So you need to have their social security number. You need to know their birth dates and any income that person is earning. So you're going to be asked for a total household income. You need to be able to provide an annual amount of income that everyone in the household earns. So make sure you have all that stuff available at the beginning. That way you don't have to stop and go back. There's some eligibility criteria down here that you really should pay attention to. To qualify to apply today, the head of household, that means the person that is the primary resident in the household. It could be the mom, the dad, but it must be an adult that's 19 years of age or older at the time of the application, which would be today if you were applying today. You must have an annual income that meets the income requirements of the Section 8 housing program and the Mobile Housing Board, and you can click right here to see that table to see if you qualify, but they're basically HUD income limits. You could also go to Affordable Housing Online. You can go to their site, and they'll have the income limits there for Mobile. If you just go to affordablehousing.com/housing/Alabama/Mobile, that'll get you there. So, what else we have here? In the future, you may be subject to screening. If you are selected for the waiting list and you come up on the voucher list, you and others in your household will likely be screened for a criminal background or other perhaps even credit. So just keep that in mind as you go through this application. You're agreeing to this. And then later on, not today, but later on, everyone in your household is going to be required to provide documentation of your Social Security numbers and income as well to make it through your initial eligibility interview. So that's kind of the beginning. Make sure you've got all your documents in a row, and let's just jump in and do a quick demo on this application. I'm just going to use a dummy Social Security number. We're not actually going to submit this to the Mobile Housing Board. We're just going to walk through right to the end of the application and then not submit it. So let's go ahead and enter our Social Security number. And enter it a second time to confirm that it's correct. And hit the continue button. Make sure this was automatically checked. And continue. And then there's a one page application here. You see it's all on one page. And right down here is the complete application button at the bottom. So we're just going to start out by entering our name, middle initial, last name, gender. Again, this will only take you a few minutes to complete. If you have all your information available, it's automatically bringing our Social Security number in from the prior page. And then our birth date, your citizenship status, ethnicity, race, and then ethnicity over here. And then whether you're a veteran or your spouse is a veteran, and the same thing, whether you or your spouse is disabled. Many times there is a preference when selecting from the Section 8 waiting lists for veterans, disabled, elderly, and other types of preferences. We'll get to some of those preferences down below. So also your address. So let's just enter your address. And select Mobile from the list, long list of cities, and zip code. Phone number. And confirm your email address here. And then this Head of Household Information section is complete. So let's move on down to the next section. which is the other household members. Remember, you have to report on every single member of your household, including children, including any other dependents like an elderly parent or partner. So we're going to go ahead and let's add Jane public, Social Security number, and her relationship is spouse. Enter her birth date and her gender, and yeah, so make sure you have the correct date in there. 1881 is not valid, and there we go. So female, and citizenship status is eligible citizen. And then we're going to add one child, and we're going to add Jimmy. And he is a other youth under 18. You have all these other choices: foster child, foster adult, other youth under 18, full-time student over 18, live-in aid, and other adult. So it would be other youth under 18. And his birth date is 1/2007, and he's a boy. And he's an eligible citizen, and this row over here is for anyone in the household who may be disabled. And let's assume that Jimmy is handicapped. We would select disabled, and you have plenty of room here to enter as many household members as you need to. Remember, everyone in the household must be listed here. Next is the income information for the whole family. It's very simple here. You need to add up the annual income of everyone in the household and report that actual number here. So let's just plug in $16,500. That would be everyone in the household. And then the local preferences. Again, like these two questions here, veteran and disabled, every housing authority is able to establish certain priorities. These three questions are directed toward employment. So question number 16, head of household is legally employed full-time for at least an uninterrupted 2.5 year prior to the date of application, working not less than 35 hours per week. So this basically means, have you had a full-time job for the last 2.5 years? And if so, you select yes. And that will help with any sort of employment preference that the Housing Board has chosen. The next question is directed at long-term part-time employment. So the head of household is legally employed long-term, part-time for at least an uninterrupted 3.5 years prior to the date of application, working not less than 20 hours per week. So have you had a job working 20 hours a week for at least the last 3.5 years? And if that's the case, you would select yes. Lastly, head of household is legally employed short-term full-time employment at least 18 months prior to the application, a minimum 35 hours per week. So have you had a full-time job, 35 hours a week or more, for the last 1.5 years? If so, you would select yes. And then the last local preference question, applicant family whose head or spouse are disabled or age 62 or older. So if you are disabled or your spouse is disabled or you're 62 or older, you would select yes. In this case, we're no. And then lastly, this is a fairly quick application. You've got 3 different certifications down here. You need to select all 3 of them before selecting the submit button. And so you have the first one. I understand that any misrepresentation of information or failure to disclose information requested in this application may disqualify me from consideration for admission or participation. Remember, you need to tell the housing authority the true and exact condition of your family status today, income, and
and all this other information up here as it exists today. And you would tick that box there. Again, you're testifying that it's true. And you are also, again, very important, you're telling them, you're agreeing that you understand that it's your responsibility to keep your contact information current with them. So again, you got to go back to the application portal, change your address, change your phone number, change your email address anytime all that stuff changes. So then you would just tick that box, and now our application is complete. And then actually you can't see it in the screen here. Right here is the complete application button. You'd click that button, and you're all done. You will likely receive a confirmation from the Housing Authority that your application was received, and then at some point in the next few weeks, I assume they're going to be conducting the lottery pretty soon following the applications. Remember, the applications can be submitted all week long, and you're done. And that's how you submit a Section 8 application to the Mobile Housing Board for the waiting list opening that's happening this week from Monday, June 23rd to Friday, June 27th, 2014. Again, this is David Layfield with ApartmentSmart.com and Affordable Housing Online. And good luck with your Section 8 application.